She stood in front of the mirror longer than usual that morning, painting on that red lipstick like it wasn't war paint. Hair curled, neckline a little deeper than it had any business being on a Tuesday morning. Perfume misted behind her ears. Not the one she wore for me. "My lover is coming to pick me up today," she said. Just like that. Like she was asking me to pass the salt. No drama. No confession. No shame. Then she grabbed her bag and walked out the door like she hadn't just set fire to the life we'd built together. I didn't speak. I didn't scream. I didn't even blink. Because when someone hits you with a bullet like that, you don't flinch. You let it lodge deep, let it burn, and you wait. You watch. I grabbed my keys and followed. I wasn't the kind of man who ever thought I'd be in this position. I was raised on loyalty. My father worked 42 years in the same factory and never once skipped a shift. My mother made our house a fortress of trust. You don't lie. You don't cheat. You don't walk out the damn door without at least pretending your vows meant something. But my wife, she didn't come from my kind of world. Mira, I met her in the fall. She had a laugh that cracked through the November cold like sunlight on frost. She liked poetry, jazz, men with calluses on their hands. At least that's what she said back then. I was a carpenter. I built her a bookshelf on our second date, and she kissed me like I was the last man on earth. But that kiss meant nothing now, because now she was someone else's to kiss. She climbed into a sleek black car when it pulled up to the curb. Not a neighbor's, not a friend's. I didn't recognize the guy behind the wheel. Hair too slick, smile too perfect. He leaned over and kissed her like he'd earned her, like I didn't exist. And just like that, they drove off. But I didn't stop there. I followed them, down the street, through town, past where our daughter used to take ballet classes, past the bakery where we'd fight over the last croissant, past the life we used to live, until the car pulled into a driveway. His driveway. Now here's where things twist. Because the moment she stepped out and turned to kiss him goodbye, another car pulled in. A second man stepped out. This one older, slower. He had a key. He opened the door, walked right in. That's when I realized. She wasn't cheating on me with him. She was cheating on him with me. Or rather, she was cheating on him with another him. And then another. The guy in the black car wasn't her lover. He was her driver. The real lover. Turned out there were three. 3 men. 3 routines. 3 lies so well constructed they almost deserved respect. But karma? She doesn't respect liars. She stalks them. I waited. I watched. And I caught every single one of them. You'd think I'd feel rage, right? But what I felt was clarity. My marriage was over. But my dignity? That was just waking up. I parked 2 houses down. Engine off, seat reclined. Watched the way she moved, like nothing was out of place. Like this wasn't a double life, but a Tuesday errand. Grocery run. Dry cleaning. Getting drilled in someone else's house while her wedding ring sat cold on her finger. 27 minutes. That's how long she stayed inside. Not long enough to call it a date. Just long enough to call it disgusting. When she came back out, she didn't bother adjusting herself. Didn't check her lipstick. Just climbed back into that car like the world owed her something. And she was collecting. I followed again. This time, to a coffee shop. Not for her. For him. Number 2. A barista called his name, Bryce, and he greeted her with a smile that had history. Not a new fling. An arrangement. She reached into her purse and handed him a gift bag. Real casual. Something small, probably expensive. Probably paid for with my credit card. I waited until she left. Until Bryce finished his latte and strutted out like a man who thinks he's the main character. Then I went inside. "Hey," I said to the girl behind the counter. The woman who just left. Dark hair, black coat, red scarf. "What's her regular order?" She smiled like she'd seen them together 100 times. "Flat white with oat milk." She comes in every Tuesday and Thursday. Always with Bryce. "Cute couple, huh?" I asked. "Oh, they're definitely something," she said with a smirk. I left a tip. Big one. Not for the service, just for confirming that my life was now a sitcom without a laugh track. But the worst wasn't what she did. It was how normal she made it. Like it was scheduled. Like cheating was her new cardio. That night, she came home humming, tossed her coat on the hook, poured herself a glass of wine, and curled up on the couch like she hadn't been playing house in someone else's bed. "You eat already?" she asked. I nodded. "Yeah. Had leftovers." She smiled. "I'm starving." Today was crazy. I bet it was. "Anything exciting happen?" I asked, keeping my voice neutral. She shook her head. "Just work stuff." "Boring." "Boring." That's what she called a day spent threading lies through every hour like pearls on a noose. I studied her. The way she sipped wine without looking up. The way her phone buzzed and she glanced at it quick, like a reflex. Always screen down. Always just out of reach. I'd lived with this woman for 6 years. I knew her laugh, her scent, the rhythm of her footsteps. But now I was studying her like a stranger. And what I saw was a blueprint for betrayal. I didn't scream, didn't throw things, didn't tell her what I knew. Because explosions are messy. But strategy? Strategy leaves scars you don't see coming. So I smiled, played the role, and began to build the case. 2 weeks. That's how long I kept up the act. Breakfast like clockwork. Coffee for her, cream no sugar. Morning kiss on the cheek, no warmth. We played house. I took out the trash, mowed the lawn, fixed the loose tile in the bathroom, because even a man living in a lie deserves a stable floor to stand on. She called me babe in front of friends. Held my hand at dinner parties. Posted pictures with captions like my rock. I watched her type them, sitting 5 feet away, wondering which of the 3 bastards she was actually smiling for. But the problem with living in a lie? Eventually, you get real comfortable in the costume. She taught me that. She taught me how to lie with a smile, how to kiss with lips that didn't mean it. So I took notes. And I used them. Because if she could fake her way through our marriage, I could fake my way through the war. I started digging. Not just into her phone. No, that would have been too easy. She was smarter than that. But her patterns? Her habits? Predictable. Thursday evenings, always yoga. Saturday mornings, early brunch with Kayla. Texting late at night under the covers, screen turned low, like she was trying to hide a war crime from the UN. I cloned her phone. Not her texts, too easy to clean. Her GPS history. Took less than 10 minutes. Now I knew where she went when she wasn't with the girls. Turns out, she had more locations saved than I had memories of our honeymoon. One name came up more than the rest. Oliver Banks. A chiropractor. Single. Divorced last year. Active on social media with quotes like, "A real man listens before he touches." I wondered if she quoted him to her friends while sipping mimosas in our backyard. I wondered if she moaned his name where our daughter used to play. I started writing things down. Dates. Times. License plates. How long she stayed. What she wore. I wasn't just a husband anymore. I was a historian of betrayal. And I planned to publish. But the funny thing is, the more I tracked her, the more free I felt. She thought she held the cards. She didn't know I had already folded the marriage and picked up something stronger. Purpose. I started making quiet changes. Moved some funds. Changed the beneficiaries on a few accounts. Filed a separate P.O. box. Opened a new email. Rented a safe deposit box. She had no idea. Every time she came home smelling like sandalwood and cheap champagne, I smiled a little wider. Not because I forgave her. Because I'd already buried the man she betrayed. The next step? Make sure she never saw what was coming. She'd always been careless with her phone. Too confident. Too arrogant. Arrogance, turns out, is the best friend of a betrayed man. One night, while she was in the shower humming some top 40 garbage like she wasn't actively dismantling our vows, I picked up her phone from the nightstand. No password. She must have thought I was too dumb, too blind, or too trusting to ever look. Her text thread with Kayla, her so-called best friend, was actually just a play-by-play commentary on her side quests. Each message was a knife. OMG girl, Oliver has hands. Can't decide which one I like more. Bryce is sweet, but Jake? Girl. A menace. He brought me coffee this morning like I didn't leave his place at 2 a.m. Laughter. Emoji after emoji. Like wrecking a marriage with some casual TikTok challenge. But it got worse. You think he suspects? Nah. He still makes me coffee in the morning. Poor thing still thinks I'm in love. I stared at that one for a long time. Because she wasn't just cheating. She was mocking me for loving her. And that? That was the moment something inside me sealed shut. I copied the entire thread to my hidden drive. Screenshots. Backups. Encrypted folders. A full dossier, categorized by name, date, offense. I wasn't just going to confront her. I was going to expose her. But not with yelling. Not with screaming. That's what she'd expect. I'd spent my entire life building things. Furniture. Cabinets. A home. But now? I was building her reckoning. The next morning, I kissed her on the forehead. Don't forget, dinner with my boss this weekend, I said. She blinked. Oh, right. What day again? Saturday. A pause. Calculating. I might have a thing Saturday. Kayla's birthday. Kayla, I repeated, hiding the smile that threatened to break my face in half. This would be the third fake birthday Kayla had that year. The girl was either a time traveler or my wife's alibi machine. That's okay, I said. We'll work around it. And just like that, I handed her more rope. Every lie she told now was a favor to me. Every excuse another knot in her own noose. But I wasn't stupid. I knew she'd see something coming if I started acting cold. So I doubled down. More affection. More, how was your day? More forehead kisses. I even left her flowers on the kitchen table with a note. Still in love. Still choosing you. She posted it to Instagram. I wanted to carve those words into glass and let her choke on them later. Because love was no longer my weakness. It was the camouflage I wore while I loaded the chamber. I wasn't leaving her. Not yet. First, I was going to take everything she thought was hers. By now, I knew everything. I knew where she went, who she was with, how long it took her to fake a meeting and land in someone else's bed. I knew which lies she told to my face, which ones she whispered into someone else's ear. But what mattered most? I knew what she valued. She didn't care about me anymore. Not really. She cared about status, about appearances, about the image we projected to the world. The house, the friends, the lifestyle. All of it was a curated performance. She needed this marriage like a stage needs curtains, something to hide the backstage filth. So I gave her a bigger audience. I started attending her social events again. The charity functions, the art shows, the wine tastings full of people with perfect teeth and empty souls. And I made sure I looked the part. Sharp suit, clean shave, smile like a weapon. You look incredible, she'd say, looping her arm around mine. So do you, I'd reply, knowing exactly where that dress had been last weekend. At one gala, she introduced me to her friends as the most patient man alive. Everyone laughed. I did too, because they didn't know why I was patient. They didn't know I was setting the stage. I met her bosses, shook hands, told stories, played the perfect husband. Then I made sure to casually mention we were considering relocating. New job offer. Big city. She blinked fast. But we haven't talked about that, she said through a frozen smile. Of course we have, I said gently. You must have forgotten. In that moment, I saw it. The crack. The slight panic behind her eyes. Because a move? That wasn't in her plan. Her network was here. Her lovers. Her backup plans. Her exit strategy. Relocation would shatter all of it. That was her first taste of what it felt like to lose control. She smiled through it, of course. She always did. But I saw the way her grip on my arm tightened. Not affectionate. Territorial. It was beautiful. And it was just the beginning. Back home, I pulled out the burner phone I'd hidden in my tool chest. Started sending anonymous messages. To the chiropractor's wife. To the barista's boyfriend. To the HR department where her other friend worked. Just a breadcrumb trail. Just enough to stir the pot. Not enough to blow it up yet. Because she thought she was the one playing chess. But the thing about chess? The queen's the most powerful piece. Until the king decides she's in the wrong game. I used to wonder what betrayal looked like. Now I know. It looks like a woman fixing her makeup in the mirror before going to see another man. It looks like a phone flipped face down the second you walk in the room. It looks like your wife texting someone thank you again for last night while wearing your wedding ring. But now? Now I was wondering what exposure looked like. And I was about to find out. The first domino fell on a Thursday. She came home later than usual. Jacket crooked, hair too perfect, like she'd spent 20 minutes in a bathroom mirror making sure every strand whispered innocence. Hey babe, she said. Sorry, work ran long. Busy day? I asked without looking up from the paper. She poured a glass of wine. Yeah, stressful. People don't respect boundaries anymore, you know? The irony almost made me laugh. But I didn't. I let her stew in her own hypocrisy while I planned the next strike. That weekend, I sent a flash drive to Oliver Banks's office. No note. No return address. Just a neat little USB labeled for your wife. Inside? Screenshots. Dates. GPS locations. Even a voice recording of Mira on the phone, giggling. God, I can't believe he still thinks I'm with Kayla. By Monday, Oliver's personal Instagram was gone. His business page was silent. His Yelp reviews turned sour. I never got confirmation. Didn't need it. Because 2 days later, Mira came home early. Eyes red. Lipstick smudged. I need to ask you something, she said, standing in the doorway like a kid about to confess to breaking a window. I looked up. What's wrong? Did Did you tell anyone about us? About. About what, Mira? I said slowly, setting my drink down. She hesitated. Never mind. That right there? That was the moment she started to suspect. And that's when things got interesting. She began double-checking her phone, clearing her tabs, changing her habits. Too late. I already had everything I needed. The files were backed up 3 ways: cloud, offline, encrypted, stored in a safe deposit box under a fake name and a third-party lawyer's address. Even if I dropped dead, she'd still burn. And still, she played her part. The next week, she posted a picture of us at brunch, her head on my shoulder, captioned, "Still my favorite person to do nothing with." I stared at that photo for a long time. It wasn't the lie that stung. It was the ease. The way she smiled while holding my hand, knowing full well she'd been crawling into someone else's bed the night before. But I didn't rage. No. Rage is loud. I was quiet. And quiet men build revolutions. 2 things happened that week. First, Bryce, the barista boyfriend, went dark. His social media went private, his cozy latte art love notes disappeared, and Mira started checking her phone like it owed her answers. Second, I changed the locks. Not the front door. That would have been too obvious. I changed the lock on the hallway closet, the one with the fireproof box where we kept important stuff. Passports, birth certificates, tax records, titles. She tried it that Friday. I heard the subtle rattle of the knob when she thought I was outside. And I heard the silence that followed when it didn't turn. She didn't say anything about it. Just avoided eye contact that night and kissed me with lips colder than usual. She was starting to realize something was off. But not how off. Not how deeply the ground beneath her was shifting. She was clever, but not patient. That's the difference between a liar and a builder. She built excuses. I built escape routes. While she was busy covering her tracks with lovers, I was busy unraveling her web with precision. I'd already filed the paperwork with a lawyer 2 counties over. Separate assets. Custody contingencies. Even though we never had kids, I made it clear I planned for everything. Just to see the look on her face when the paperwork landed. She didn't know yet, but it was coming. And the beauty of it? I wouldn't even have to serve her in person. A courier would show up to her precious Pilates class and hand her a manila envelope labeled Mira Saunders, personal and confidential. I could already see her forced smile cracking like thin ice. But I wasn't done. That Sunday, I invited her parents over for brunch. I played the loving husband, the thoughtful host, made pancakes, served mimosas, even pulled out her mother's favorite china set. Her dad liked me. He always had. He was a contractor, a man who understood quiet labor. Her mother, though? She was always suspicious, like she knew her daughter was born wearing a disguise. As we ate, I smiled and dropped the first breadcrumb. "We're thinking of downsizing," I said between bites. Myra's fork froze midair. "We are." "Yeah," I said smoothly. "Too many memories here. Time to start fresh. Don't you agree, sweetheart?" Her eyes darted to her mother. Sure. We were just talking about that, right?" I nodded. "Exactly." Her mother studied her. "Good. Let that seed of doubt take root." After they left, Mira cornered me in the kitchen. "What the hell was that?" she hissed. "What was what?" I asked innocently, rinsing a glass. "You told my parents we're selling the house? Since when? I thought we agreed." We didn't agree on anything. And there it was. The panic. The cracks. The slow unraveling of her carefully curated story. I wiped my hands and faced her. "You okay, Mira?" I asked softly. She stared at me, searching my face, trying to read between the lines. But the thing is, when you lie long enough, you forget how to recognize the truth. And I had become the truth she couldn't manipulate. The manila envelope arrived on a Wednesday. I timed it perfectly, 10:30, right when Mira would be walking out of her massage appointment, floaty and disarmed, mind full of eucalyptus oil and other people's hands. The courier caught her as she reached the parking lot. "Mrs. Saunders?" She paused, sunglasses halfway up her nose. "Yes. Personal delivery. Please sign here." She hesitated. The signature was shaky. She opened it right there. 30 pages. Legal header. Quiet fury. Dissolution of marriage. Irretrievable breakdown. When I got home, the house was silent. Not just, I had a long day silent. No. This was the silence of someone drowning and not wanting to splash. She was in the kitchen, sitting in the same chair she used to laugh in, her hands trembling around the first page. She'd read it. More than once, I could tell creases on the corners, faint smudges of mascara on the header. You bastard, she whispered without looking up. I walked past her. Calm. Not victorious, measured. You didn't think I knew, I said. She stood up fast, papers in hand, fury replacing shock. You went behind my back? You snooped through my phone? You tracked me? No, I said simply. I watched you. That's different. You invaded my privacy, eh? Don't talk to me about invasion, Mira. You brought strangers into my home. My bed. You kissed me with someone else's taste in your mouth. And I smiled through it. She blinked. Stepped back like I'd struck her. Good. It was time she felt something real. I made one mistake, she snapped, desperation clawing at her voice. I almost laughed. One? I leaned against the counter, arms crossed. Which one are you calling the mistake? Oliver? Bryce? Jake? The spa manager? Or the hotel concierge you met on your solo retreat in Napa? Her mouth opened, then shut. She looked like a fish gasping for air after being yanked from its tank. You kept receipts, she whispered. I smiled. I built a library. You planned this? For months? Longer, I said. You started digging the grave. I just made sure you fell into it head first. Her hands dropped to her sides. The papers spilled across the tile. She stared down like they were foreign symbols she couldn't read. I can't believe you're doing this to me, she said. To her. To her. That right there told me everything I needed to know. This wasn't about guilt. This wasn't about remorse. This was about control. And for the first time, she didn't have it. I grabbed my coat. Wallet. Keys. Where are you going? She asked, her voice small. Out, I said. You've had your fun. Now it's my turn. I didn't go far that night. Just enough to let her sit with the silence she'd never once respected. I checked into a modest hotel by the highway. Clean sheets. No memory attached. The kind of place that didn't ask questions, just handed you a key and nodded like the world owed you privacy. I slept better than I had in months. No perfume lingering on my pillow that wasn't mine. No fake laughter echoing from another room. No pretending. The next morning, my phone lit up. 5 missed calls. 3 voicemails. All from Mira. I didn't listen. I didn't need to. Desperate women repeat themselves. But by the 6th call, I answered. Not because I owed her anything, but because I wanted to hear her voice crack. Where are you? She said. No hello. Just panic wrapped in breathlessness. Out. Out where? You lost the right to ask that. A pause. I didn't mean for it to go this far. No, I said. You meant for it to go just far enough that I'd never find out. Another pause. I was confused, she tried again. No, Mira. Confused is misplacing your keys. You were calculated. And now you're caught. She started crying. Not sobbing, controlled tears. The kind you practice in the mirror when you still want to win the argument. People are calling, she said. You sent things to them. Only the ones who deserve to know. I could lose my job. You lost your marriage. Priorities, Mira. She didn't reply. I ended the call. Later that day, I got a text from her sister. What the hell happened? She's a wreck. I didn't reply to that either. Because wreckage doesn't earn sympathy when it's the result of arson. Mira had spent years constructing a public image, hashtag Wi-Fibes, brunch selfies, anniversary captions that could fool anyone but a man who slept beside her. But the moment the truth leaked, those same friends vanished. Her group chats? Quiet. Her social feed? No likes. The girl who used to collect validation like currency was now overdrawn. Karma, it turns out, doesn't send warnings. She just shows up and redecorates. I didn't rub it in. That's not how this worked. I didn't need revenge. I just needed her to understand what it feels like when the crowd stops clapping. That weekend, my lawyer served her the second envelope. Amendments. House in my name. Car in my name. Joint account frozen. She texted once. This is war. I didn't reply. Because war implies two sides with power. And Mira? Mira was out of ammunition. By Monday morning, she was waiting for me outside my job. Hair undone. No makeup. Hoodie swallowing her frame like she was trying to disappear into the fabric. She looked human. The Mira I married had never left the house without mascara and a plan. 5 minutes, she begged. I stepped outside, arms crossed. She didn't speak right away, just stared, as if trying to summon the man she used to manipulate. But he wasn't home anymore. He'd packed his bags the day she said, "My lover is picking me up," and left without flinching. I made mistakes, she finally said. Mistakes is sleeping through an alarm, I said flatly. You lived a second life. Repeatedly. Her eyes brimmed. You don't understand it. No, I interrupted. You don't understand. You thought I'd be too spineless to act. You thought I'd just hold your purse while you took turns riding through town with half the zip code. That stung. She winced. I let the silence stretch until it choked. You win, she whispered. I wasn't playing. And with that, I turned and walked back inside, leaving her in the shadow of the building, shrinking under a sky that no longer bent for her. That evening, I went home, not to our home, to my home. She'd moved out. She didn't say where, and I didn't ask. What mattered was that the air didn't reek of secrets anymore. I stood in the living room, quiet, alone, free. The walls still held echoes of betrayal, sure, but now they had space for something else. Peace. I poured a whiskey, sat on the couch, watched the sun bleed over the horizon. And for once, I didn't wonder who she was texting, because it didn't matter. She wasn't mine to wonder about anymore. The next day, the mail arrived with a return address I recognized. Her lawyer. Inside? A letter. I want to settle. I don't want this drag through court. Please. We both deserve peace. I laughed. Not loud. Just one of those short, bitter chuckles that taste like irony. She wanted peace. Now, after making war look like a lifestyle? But fine. I'd give her peace. On my terms. I called my lawyer. Give her the car, I said. Give her the clothes. The jewelry. All of it. You sure? He asked. Yeah. I want her to have everything she used to measure her worth. He didn't understand, but he didn't have to. Because Myra's punishment wasn't poverty. It was living with the ruins of her kingdom, the heels, the handbags, the designer dresses, and knowing none of it could dress up the fact that she lost the only thing that ever gave her a real reflection. A man who meant what he said, and never needed a mask to be strong. I knew she'd try something bold. Myra never knew how to lose quietly. She didn't know how to sit in silence without trying to orchestrate the next act. So when I saw her name pop up on my phone 2 weeks after she'd agreed to the settlement, I didn't answer. She tried again. Then came the message. Dinner? One last time. Just to talk. You owe me that much. I stared at the screen for a long time. Oh, was a funny word coming from someone who'd stolen time, trust, and truth without a receipt. Still, I agreed. Not for her. For me. She picked the place, one of those quiet upscale joints with mood lighting and a wine list longer than my patience. The kind of place where people pretend they're still in love for the sake of the waiter. She was already seated when I arrived. Red dress. Perfect makeup. Like she'd spent hours trying to turn back the clock. But it wasn't working. I didn't see the woman I married. I saw the ghost of her, haunting a seat she no longer owned. Thanks for coming, she said, trying to smile. I nodded. Saturday. Ordered water. We danced around it at first. Small talk. Weather. Work. Lies. Then she leaned forward, voice low, eyes wide. I've been thinking. Maybe we rushed things. The divorce. The fight. Everything. There it was. The pitch. I wasn't in a good place, she continued. You were always working, and I felt alone. You chose the solution, I replied. Not the problem. She faltered. Maybe we could. I don't know. Rebuild. Rebuild. The word landed flat. She didn't understand what rebuilding meant. She'd never built anything in her life, only decorated what others made and took credit for surviving the storm with dry clothes. Don't you miss it? She asked softly. What? Us. I looked at her long and hard. I miss who I thought you were, I said. Not who you turned out to be. That shut her up. The waiter dropped the check. I grabbed it before she could pretend to reach for her purse. Paid in cash. No eye contact. When I stood, I left her with this. You'll find someone else, Myra. You always do. But here's what you won't find again. She looked up. A man who loved you before the facade. Before the games. Before you turned love into leverage. I paused. And when you wake up next to someone new, when you catch them checking their phone, when they come home late and you feel that burn in your chest, you'll wonder if you're being lied to. I leaned in, quiet but certain. And you'll never know if it's karma or just what you deserve. Then I walked out. Didn't look back. Didn't flinch. Because sometimes justice isn't about destruction. Sometimes it's about clarity.